Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. The time is 7 o'clock p.m. I'd like to call the Finance Personnel Committee regular meeting to order. Myself, Mike Cappers, present.
Chris Duback.
Chris Duback is present, and Donnie Kern appears by Zoom. We can go through the minutes of November 13th.
I'll make motion to approve the November 13th minutes as presented.
Donnie Kern, second.
We got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Christina, if you can give us your library report.
Yep, I sure can. I think that's included in your packet, but I've included some statistics for last month's in there so you can see how many people came to the library. Like new patrons on that refers to how many new people signed up for library cards. And then checkouts would be books, DVDs, all those. And then meeting room sessions would be like outside groups using the meeting rooms. So that's what's happening there. And then last week, my coworker Meg had a program in the maker space where she used the library's Cricut, and there were 8 people who attended that program, so they seemed happy. We've got a couple of children's programs happening the week between Christmas and New Year's too, so with the Friends of the Library giving away books. And then my coworker Daniel is going to have a little scavenger hunt, a New Year's Eve scavenger hunt at the library where kids go around and help our library mascot, Coco the Bear, find party hats and just New Year's Eve supplies. And then they get stickers for those and they turn it in. They can collect those items from the librarian too. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Yeah.
Great. So I have a question on the meeting room. I met with a guy this week who does like financial planning and wants to use a room. Is it rented out, or can anybody kind of reserve a room, or how does that work?
I'd have to think about that. As far as, I mean, the general idea is, I think it's a little bit more discouraged, like for people to make a profit off of library space. I can't remember if the meeting rooms, I have to check the policy. If you can, sometimes we'll charge the individuals who are making the profit so they can pay a rate. It's not exactly cheap, just because we want it to be open for those community groups to come in who are offering free services.
So if it's for somebody giving advice and not making any money,
Sure,
or a community organization, but if it's somebody like a for-profit business coming in, then there's
yeah,
some...
right. We don't want any exchange of money at the library. So like you can't come in there and sell your your goods. There's other places within the community that you can do that. But yeah, you might have, like there was somebody, I think it was a travel agent who said, you know, I just want to come in and do kind of cute little like informational sessions with people. And we're like, oh, that'd be great. You know, those types of things would be cool.
And then I tried to meet with you down there a couple times and we missed each other, but are you around? Are you around there tomorrow at all?
I am tomorrow. Yep.
Okay.
I got a dentist appointment, but in the afternoon, but I'll be there if you're in the kind of
Okay,
morning.
I have a meeting at 11, so I'll just walk over there after my meeting and see if you're around.
Okay.
See what we can do to work together and get more people signing up.
Yeah. I wanted to ask too, did you guys have the meeting with Todd Albert about the ice rink this evening too?
We did.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was approved and recommended for approval to the village board at the location that Todd would like to put it at, so.
Okay, I'll just stay tuned for that.
Yep.
You like
Thanks.
ice skate?
No, but I think it'd be fun to watch everybody enjoy that, so.
I 100% agree. Okay. Anything else, Christina?
No, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Let's do the department head meeting report next, if that's okay. While Christina's still on the video.
Sorry, I was muted. We did not have a meeting this month.
Do you anticipate having one, or are you just gonna wait till January?
We'll just wait till January.
Impact fee report? And
47 total for the year. There, I believe 4 since the last meeting. Or maybe only 2. When was our last meeting? Oh, November. Yeah, so only 2 on the day of the meeting.
Is there any additional ones that have come in that you know of?
If there were, they'd be on the report, but there hasn't been any since I printed this Monday. So.
this is for all the building permits?
New construction.
New construction.
At 47 this year, I believe there was 43 last year.
I believe so, yes.
And we're anticipating about that much, if not more, perhaps next year as well. Or at least our budgets are reflecting that.
We don't, well, I guess building permit wise, yes, we've budgeted the same as last year or this year, so.
Right.
Between Winesap and the Capstone's new development going north of town, it should be quite a bit in new construction next year.
Yes.
2023 budget to date and fund balances. We're able to see what I was talking about on the second to last page, the 641 supplies and expense for trans/dist. And it's $10,000 was budgeted, but we're at about $104,000.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, I made a note to look at that account.
Oh, all right. I think I gotta ask you a couple other things, but do you know what that account does? Right, kind of off the top of your head?
It's part of the water utility. Um, transmission and distribution is the service lines, correct, Bob? Let's see, Bob's on Zoom.
Yep.
Hey, Bob,
Hey,
do you know what that line item that we're talking about, supplies and expense for trans/dist?
yeah, distribution. So it's a distribution system. So anything with a um service line, water main, all the appurtenances that go with that, there's an expense. I'd have to go back and look. It just was a kind of an anomaly this year, so to see where those coding numbers came from throughout the year.
But anything that would have been, like a budgeted only 10,000, but over 100, would that have anything to do with anything worth the new construction on Churchill or anything, or?
Yeah, and I'm not aware of coding $100,000 of stuff into this, but Andrea does see some things that I don't see, so I don't know if everything was in front of my eyes, but that'd be something her and I need to check on.
I guess I don't remember seeing anything. Where it was over 1,000% of the budget last year. Do you guys remember seeing anything like that? Chris?
No.
Or-
Well,
So
they could check into it and get back to us.
Andrea, did any of our expenses
Yes.
before we got the clean water loan, did any of our expenses come out of there that we need to be reimbursed on?
Not that I can recall, but
So like Churchill,
I would have to look at the accounting software to see what was charged to that account.
that's the only thing I can think of.
Nothing's popping out at me.
No, me neither. I'm just assuming that might be one of the areas where we haven't reimbursed that fund yet.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, if you can email that out to us, so we can take a look at it. And then what were the other two things that are brought up, Andrew?
Water tower income and the planning contractual services, which thinking about it, I believe the planning contractual services might be the facilities assessment that was approved.
Okay,
So
okay. All right, so we got those three things that you'll update us on. Anybody else have any other questions on anything? I think those are my only questions.
I got nothing.
You're the numbers guy, Donnie. How can you have nothing? You're always.
Mhm. Well, when you're looking at this as far as the income versus revenues and to go to the bottom line, it looks like that we're under budget in all of the areas, which a lot of that makes a lot of sense to me because of the growth that we're experiencing. It's throwing a lot of that additional income in the revenue. Plus next year, we're looking at seeing a substantial increase in state aid, which is going to help offset our budget, but that's next year. So everything's kind of laying in here. I think that one that you pointed out already speaks volume to it. Everything else is kind of where it needs to be, that I see. I think
And then.
being 91,000 under budget on their sewer water utility is a good thing. I think, being at or we're gonna be falling under budget for our main general fund is also a good thing, and I think that credit is due in those areas for everybody staying well within budget.
Agreed. Agreed. I just have one more thing, Andrea, if you could give us a breakdown on the last page. Professional services, the 852. And it was budgeted for 7,500, we're at 87,000. Can you send us a breakdown of that? I mean, I don't have any other questions.
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody,
I don't have any questions.
Donnie, anything?
I'm good.
Moving on, unfinished business discussion, possible recommendation, village fee schedule. So the two that we have to work with are the Board of Appeals application, which was currently set at $200. And the tubing user fee at $8,700, which is shared between the tubing businesses. And these are the only two that are don't have a dollar amount under our ordinances. These are the ones that say set by village board. If we call a village or a Board of Appeals meeting, there's 5 members that would come to that meeting. Each of those members get paid $60. And then we would have a fee for what do you call it, for posting it, for advertising for it. What's the term for that, Andrea?
Location.
Notification, you cut off there. Public
Oh,
notification.
publication.
Publication. So I guess I would make a recommendation to move it from $200, which it currently is at, to $350 to cover the village's cost. So that would be my motion. Lost Donnie.
Oh, sure did. I'll watch for him to come back.
You have any thoughts on that, Chris?
No, that makes sense. It seems like a big jump, but it's still in line with several other municipalities out there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is making sure that the village is covered when,
Yeah, of course.
and so it's not a thing where the village is making any money, it's just covering expenses.
Right. What is the cost of publication? You know, Andrea?
It varies, but I would say between $25 and $50 is the norm.
Yeah, $350 makes sense then.
What, so I make a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, when Donnie's able to come back in, he can weigh in on his yea or nay, but it passes to go to the village board for approval. Tubing user fee, it's currently set at $8,700, shared between the tubing businesses. I've had sent an email out to the tubing places before saying basically, I don't feel that they should be paying for services that they're not getting. You know, cause it's morphed into something else over the years. And, it was a deal where the tubing associations were paying for the limited term employee officer that's working till 4 a.m. doing domestics and everything and not tubing things, but in my email to the tubing places, I also asked, Chief Trubcheck for, like a proposed budget for 2024 to see what that cost might be. And then to ask that the tubing places work together and come to us in the spring and say, hey, this is what we're willing to pay to do this. Cause I don't think it's right just charging businesses willy-nilly, without them requesting it. And to me, it's no different than if there's a bunch of bar fights or domestics at people's places that we as the village just aren't charging those businesses extra services for, and they're already paying taxes for that, unless they're requesting the extra coverage. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me. I would love to reexamine that dollar amount, because I wonder,
I just didn't, even when I owned one of the tubing places, I didn't think it was fair, but I didn't,
well, there are costs associated, but let's cover those costs.
Good.
Absolutely.
and Donnie's not back on yet, so I was the one that started this tuber user fee back in 2001, and it was a deal where it was covered between, this limited term employee, and the village also paid for 2 porta potties down there and a dumpster. And then it's morphed into something completely different, where the tubing associations or tubing companies were paying for an officer that was working till 3, 4 in the morning, not really doing much for river stuff, taking care of domestics, bar fights, not what the tubing places were paying for. So I would like to examine it and just see, I don't think we should be charging businesses for services that they're not asking for, and,
They're not necessary, sure.
correct. And maybe that dollar amount is with the increase in wages and everything, maybe that is the dollar amount. I don't know, but
Let's do a rate study.
yes.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So Donnie's not back. Would you?
He's back now.
Okay. So,
He's just connecting.
all right, Donnie, looks like you're unmuted. Can you hear us okay?
I can now. We had an
So,
issue with our Wi-Fi over here.
Yeah, no worries. We'll get you caught up to speed. It's a pretty lax meeting here, pal. So the Board of Appeals application, I made a motion to change it from $200 to $350. Chris seconded it. So it passes, but do you want to weigh in, yay or nay, or any discussion?
Yay, I'm fine with that as long as it's enough to cover the cost.
Yeah, the 5 members at $60 a meeting is $300. Publication goes from 25 to $50, so at least the village is covered.
Okay,
Then we discussed the tubing user fee. Currently it's 8,700 shared between the tubing businesses. I explained to Chris that I had sent out an email to the tubing companies and asked for a breakdown or proposed budget from Chief Trubcheck for next year of what that cost might be, so that we're not overcharging the tubing businesses for services that they're not asking for and not getting. And so my recommendation would be to table this until the tubing establishments can kind of come to the table, and also Joel can put together a possible proposed budget for tubing for 2024.
okay,
That sound okay to you?
I'm fine with that. What kind of a time frame are you thinking about this? Because I know these things take time to get that all kind of worked through. I mean, I'm not opposed to getting everybody to weigh in on it.
I think I can send another email to Joel and ask him for a proposed budget. And then, and maybe it's a deal where the tubing places are fine with it. I don't know, but let's get that, I'd say we get that proposed budget from Joel first and, you know, wages are a lot different than they were 20 years ago when this got into effect. So maybe 8,700 is the right number. Maybe it's high, maybe it's low. We don't really know. But I'm not for charging businesses for things that they didn't ask for and that their services are not receiving. Does that work for everybody? All right, so we'll table that and then I'll send an email off to Joel and see if we can get that sooner than later. Discussion possible recommendation, impact fee needs study.
Last month, you guys discussed having Ellers attend to talk about the next steps in this process. And as I mentioned before, the first step is that facilities assessment. I talked to Sean Lentz from Ellers and he was planning on attending tonight. And then we talked about it a little more and he was asked to attend the meeting in January where ISG is going to be presenting the facilities assessment. So he's just going to come to finance in January to talk about this along with that assessment from ISG.
And then we'd be looking at about 3 months down the road on something like that, because we're gonna have to have public meetings on this before it's brought forth for recommendation.
Correct.
So are we going to be able to get that done by April, May of next year?
If everything goes smoothly, I would say yes.
Okay.
Was there, and I didn't know until Chris's email, but was there a reason the fire department wasn't part of the initial study? Is it because they're already housed up with the township building? Is it, or?
I thought they were going to be included, so that was a surprise to me that it was going to be an additional cost. So.
Did we have a contract with them and only said police, public works, village hall? Or
That was the two companies came and did presentations at the board meeting that's separate from the impact fee needs study. That was the ISG and I can't remember the name of the other company that came. I would have to go through the agreement to see what was actually signed as far as what they were going to look at, but I thought the fire department was included, so.
if you can look at that, and if you see something that's close to having the fire department in, send it to Paul to review to see if we can save some money from, you know, paying to have the fire department included in something that they probably should have been included with it to begin with. So, okay. Is there any more to say on that? Donnie, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Right, discussion, possible recommendation for work sessions. I myself sat through last year's work sessions and village board meetings, and to be honest, I wasn't a big fan. I didn't think they were very I think they ran very long and, I don't think it sped anything up. And I personally like the way things are working right now, and I'd like to continue with the way they're going. And then, Andrea, isn't it? Well, what are your thoughts, Chris?
I'd like to hear your question.
My question was gonna be, I think it's, the ordinance is under what, the village president wants to do. I believe. It's at the discretion of the village president, I believe, but I want your guys' input.
Well, I know
I
public,
don't think it states that it's the discretion of the village president. It says that the village president can call a meeting of the whole instead of a committee meeting.
yeah, I know public safety has slowed down right now, but I also see Public Works has quite a big agenda. So that would take some time, certainly during the rest of the village board meeting, to discuss all of those finer details of Public Works. So it just seems like it would be a very, very long meeting. But honestly, I'm willing to try either way. I mean, this is the format I'm used to, certainly, but, honestly, I'm fine either way. I think that-
Well, the only way this gets done, right, is if the president calls a committee of the whole. Is that what I was under the understanding? Because the ordinance currently calls for all the meetings to be held separately. Is that correct, Andrea?
Yes.
So the only way that it would be able to be a working session is if the president was to call a committee of the whole, or we change the ordinance. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess, I'm not actually unopposed to it. When we're busy, we have a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, I think keeping, the meeting separate so we can stay focused on the things that are, pertinent to each committee is good, but, I also, am leaning with, the president on if he wants to keep them separate, then they keep them separate. I know, right now, Public Works is busy, but, just finishing up, what we're, with the construction season and pay apps and so on and so forth, but, my understanding is Public Safety didn't even have a meeting this month.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be anything really for us to. In other words, you guys would have to be at the meeting, the working session to hear what Public Works is dealing with, right?
Right.
And then come to the village board meeting as well.
Discussion, possible recommendation, 2024 proposed budgets.
So do you want me just to go over each?
Please.
So,
Are you in
each
TID 3?
TID 3, yes.
Okay.
So
TID 3.
actually I can talk about all three of the TID budgets at the same time because they're not very expensive. So the tax increment districts receive tax revenue dollars from the tax levy. And that would be the first line. And then each of them have their own audit as far as the expenses. And PID 3 has a debt that it has to pay, so that would be the other expense. The $150 on the second line under expenses is annual fee we have to pay to the Department of Revenue to have a TID, and each of them have that as well. So it's really
Andrea, can I ask you a quick question on TID 3 to help me
Sure.
explain this a little better? Okay,
Yeah.
so on TID 3, I'm just looking at this. We had the proceeds of long-term debt at one point, a little over $1 million.
Mhm.
Is that that we were getting? What was that from again? Could you refresh my memory on that?
that would be the intersection
The interest?
project. The
Oh,
intersection
okay. Okay, so that was
and
the
the curb or the
that's
sidewalk.
okay, so that's the money that we got from the state, or?
No, we got
That-
that money from the borrowing that we did.
Okay, so that's the actual money that we approved for the bonds, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, and then we spent 469,000 of that on the does that also include the expense of the purchase of that property, or is that just including of the sidewalks and such?
That is the purchase, and part of it is, well, let me see.
The reason I say that is because none of this really was budgeted in 2023. It was all kind of, we had to, we had to borrow the money so we could get the property, and so we could also do the work that needed to be done downtown, so.
Yep.
And does that leave us with any kind of because we're looking at $7,000, I guess, in additional income in next year. And then we also have our
Mhm.
debt that it is not really like do we have to start paying some of that debt back? Or do we wait
Yep,
until that
that would
hits
be-
road?
That would be the transfer to debt service fund, the last line on the budget.
The 9,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thanks. That clears up I was kind of trying to figure that out, so.
Mm-hmm.
So this, in 2024, we're basically looking at taking in 7,000 and paying out 10,000, right?
Yep.
Unless we do something with the sale of those two properties.
Correct.
Okay.
Then TID 2 is shut down. And then we just shut down TID 5, correct?
Did 4. However, the timing of when we did close the TID made it so that we'll still collect one more year of tax revenue. So what will happen is once we do a final audit on TID 4, each taxing jurisdiction will most likely get money back from what was collected. So.
Would that come to them, and would that be just divvied up to those other jurisdictions then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That usually comes after the audit, when, in April? Or
Yeah, well, we have a year when once you close a TID, we have a year to do the final audit, but
Okay,
they'll do it with the regular audit that they do every year. So
okay.
And then Andrea, when did TID 6 open?
that was in August or September, so we won't collect anything for that TID in 2024.
So we won't collect anything, so we won't see a worksheet at all in expenses or revenues until
2025.
2025.
Mhm.
And then, so that's right now part of the Plurd property, and then is Growing Wings probably in TID 6.
TID 6 is the Capstone properties or the Capstone development plus some industrial properties. TID 5 is where Growing Wings is.
Oh, I gotcha. That makes sense. All right. That makes sense.
And if you look at the TID 5 worksheet, there's no increment in TID 5 yet. There will be for the 2025 budget. So that's why there's no revenue coming in. And then down at the bottom, transfer to debt service fund, the loan that we did to purchase the land for TID 5 was a balloon payment, and that will be due in 2024. So most likely we'll have to refinance that.
Did Ellers already work with us on that, or?
No, they
So
will be in probably February or March of 2024. We'll be looking at that.
I think they pointed it out to us though, when we went through all
Yes.
the numbers, is that
Yeah.
it's definitely on their radar and they're looking
Yeah.
for trying to find the best rates for us because they know that that's going to be coming due. Yeah.
Good. That answers my question. I had TID 5 and TID 6 mixed up, so.
And then any questions on water and sewer can be asked of Bob and or Donnie, since you guys talked about those at Public Works tonight, correct?
Yep, and they were recommended for approval. There was some question to the increase under maintenance of reservoirs and sand pipes. Bob, I don't know if you want to explain that to these guys. You do a little better job on it than me.
Reservoirs. No, transportation and transmission and distribution and maintenance of services were the two items that we talked about. One, we're gonna have to go back and look at the supplies and expense to see what was coded to that last year, all of that. And then maintenance of services typically is the fund for water main breaks. We have 3 or 4.
Is that the one that it was 641 is maintenance of reservoirs and sand pipes is what it says on the budget. It's the same thing. I think we were talking about.
Reservoirs and standpipes are water tower related.
Okay, well,
So
that one was at 10,000 and went to 105. I thought that when he said 641, I'm pretty sure that's what I circled on my deal. I don't mean to, did I miss something there?
yeah, it's 641. is supplies and expense for transmission and distribution of water. $650 is the maintenance of reservoirs and standpipes.
Okay,
So,
and that's on the water utility budget?
correct.
Under the water utility fund. Yeah, and Andrea's gonna get us that. I think we're working off the other sewer utility budget worksheet and the water utility fund 610 budget worksheet. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, I think you need to take a look at that because I'm reading 641 is maintenance of reservoir sand pipes at 641. And 650 is maintenance of trans, like you were saying, but that one was, the proposed budget is $2,000. And on trans, and it's 10,000 is what it was in 2023, down to 2,000. And maintenance of reservoirs and standpipes is 10,000, and it's bumped up to 105. And that's what I thought when Brandon was talking to me that he was referencing to.
Okay.
Our sheets say are different than yours then.
641 has always been the distribution line, so I don't know why yours says 650.
I
Just
don't either.
curiosity, Donnie, was that from the packet that was emailed to you?
No, it's the one I picked up on last week.
Okay.
The one that's
I
emailed.
use the same one and all of them say, as what I'm understanding is all of them say 641 is supplies and expense, transmission and distribution. And then 650 is maintenance of reservoirs and standpipes.
That's what I'm seeing as well.
Yeah, that's what I see.
What's the amount on them?
The 641 is what you said, 10,000 to 105,000.
Okay, yep.
Supplies and expense, and the maintenance of reservoirs is 10,000 to 2,000.
Different.
So the numbers are the same, it's just the two numbers are flip-flopped. The account numbers are flip-flopped on yours, it sounds like.
It must be. I don't know why that is, but
But if you look at it, the same numbers would be on the year-to-date budget that you got.
yeah, I'll have to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is where I'm confused, because the budget detail comparison under 650, 2023 actual is 0, but then the budget is 10,000, but then on our other worksheet,
The budget is full.
651 is.
$25,000.
Yeah,
to 4,000. It could be just wrong on mine, I don't know.
Andrea, what is the difference between the budget comparison detailed packet that we have for like 641 and 650 to the water utility fund? Or the separate pages with the same 650, 641 and 650 with completely different amounts?
So the Excel worksheet with the 2024 proposed budget that I
Yep.
think you're holding in your hand,
Yep.
that has the 2022 budget, the 2023 budget, and then the proposed 2024. The other report that you looked at earlier for 2023 has actual expenses for the first column is the month, and then the second column is year to date with the budget amount next, and then the budget status. So the Excel sheet does not have what has been spent. It's
Yeah.
showing the budget amounts.
Okay,
Otherwise, everything else is the same as far as the account numbers and the account descriptions.
okay. It makes sense now, it's just for future thing, if you can freeze the heading, so the heading is out on the next page, that probably would have helped me figure it out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just noticed that it didn't carry over.
Yeah,
I normally do that.
okay. I'm good with it now, I'm clear.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? It gave me a headache trying to figure it out, though, I will tell you that. If we move on to actually, we did the TID 3, 4, and 5, and we did the water and sewer utilities. Any further discussion on anything?
Do you want to make a recommendation to the board or to approve them?
Budgets?
Yeah.
Donnie, you're the numbers guy, do you see anything that's out of whack?
You're asking a guy that just had two different numbers transposed on here that I'm supposed to make a recommendation on this? We already got the water utility taken care of. I think the TIDs kind of fall in line. I don't see anything out of the ordinary there. Public Works made their recommendation, so I'd recommend approval on these budgets be presented to the board for adoption. That's a motion.
Donnie is a first, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Chris with the second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Myself, aye. The full village board for approval. Any future agenda items?
So next month we'll be talking, we'll be seeing the presentation, so it doesn't pay for us to bring up anything with regards to the needs assessment.
And
Is that correct?
Andrews. Go ahead.
I say, is that correct?
Yes, Ellers will be here in January for both of those things.
But he'll be at the finance committee or at the board meeting?
He'll be at both,
Okay,
so.
okay. I'd really like to start looking at and getting this ironed down so that it's not continuing to be postponed, that we can get at least this needs assessment on a course towards being reviewed, because I think it's
Yep.
due. And it can't be continued to kick down the road. I'd like to hopefully get it done before building season comes, so that these companies, these contractors can start planning and people for that, whatever that cost may be.
And then I just, probably two more things. Andrea, if you could double check that contract to see if the fire department can be part of that needs assessment that we've already paid for, and have that on as an agenda item on finance and personnel. And I know we put the full thing to the joint committee between the township and the village, but maybe maybe we could have some more information to bring to that joint meeting beforehand, you know, and hopefully it's already paid for.
Yep, I can look at that.
Thank you. And then one more thing, I'll probably try to do it right now, but if you can also send Joel a message asking him for a possible budget for next year's river, tubing, river patrol.
Yep.
Well, anybody else have anything else?
Just something that we might be able to do is talk to those businesses and either have a meeting with them or invite them to the next board meeting to discuss that kind of stuff if it's gonna be brought forth on as an agenda item.
I would agree, but I would want kind of those numbers from Joel first. Send them the proposed budget first and then invite them to the meeting.
Okay.
Or invite them to the meeting anyways, but we definitely have to have Joel's numbers before we.
Okay.
Before we, you know, otherwise we invite them to the meeting, we don't even know what we're gonna really talk about.
Well, I'd like to hear their weighing in once they have them numbers in front of them too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm interested in their opinions on the matter all around. I mean, it affects them and their businesses as well as, you know, the rest of the village, so.
Some degree. Donnie, you're usually pretty good at making a final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Your second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting ends at 7:56 PM. Thank you, guys. Good
Good
job.
evening.
Have a good night.
Good evening.